This is a story about one of my ideas for painting, why it failed, and how I redeemed myself. Hi, my name is Willie and I created this channel to document and sharing my art. What I was currently doing on the video is prepping the wooden board with some gesso. In the meanwhile, let me explain to you what happened. Earlier this year, I was inspired by these two pictures I found on Pinterest and created this idea. Basically, it was a girl face combining with a falcon body and some flower crown on top of her head. I decided to paint this idea in acrylic, even though I don't have a lot of experience with this medium yet. In hindsight, maybe I should do more research about this medium, but so my plan, at least for the face, is that I'm gonna do an underpainting in blue and then glazing with some sort of skin color. A solid plan, I would say. The underpainting part went great, however, the rest didn't. The glaze, it just didn't stick. It was patchy and it looked very bad. But I kept trying and trying and trying until it ended up looking like this. Then I gave up. Fast forward a few months later and I came across something called the 30% rule, which basically you are not supposed to use more than 30% water in your acrylic mix. And do you know what 90% of my glaze is? Water. Of course, it's not gonna stick because acrylic become waterproof when dried. So if you apply more water on top, no wonder why it didn't stick at all and it looked so bad like that. That basically is a story. Today I'm gonna redeem myself, but let's have a look at the palette first. For this painting, I'm gonna use a total of 5 colors: warm yellow, magenta, Prussian blue, a neutral brown, and white. This time I also plan to start with an underpainting and then after that just go where the painting takes me to. For the first part, which is underpainting, I used a custom blue that I mixed beforehand using mostly Russian blue and a little bit of warm yellow. This time to thin out the paint for easier application, I did use some clear medium instead of just water. And I did try my best to separate some light and shadow areas, but it turned out rather quite messy. It's okay though, since I was gonna clean it up later anyway. Starting on the next layer, I lighten up the upper right hand corner with some white because that's where I place my light source. I also cover up some prominent texture on the background from the previous layer. And then I add some shadow on her face. And did a little bit of cleanup around her crown area. Let's move on to her face. I started by mixing a very light color, mostly white and some yellow, plus a little bit of the blue from before. Going from there, I added different color depending on what I needed. For example, I add more yellow and magenta for skin tone. And then for her blush, I use even more magenta. I added some blue for the transitional shade to the shadow part on her face. Even though it looked like everything came together real quick, I did spend a lot of time painting the face since this is the focal point of the whole painting. And also it's because this is where I messed up last time. lips, I didn't paint them red because I wanted to follow the Joe Falcon Big design. And I also add a little bit of yellow on the cupid's bow and plus some more yellow in the eye to balance everything out. For hair, I mix up some brushing blue and brown to create black. It's time for the Joe Falcon bodies, where I obviously had no idea what I'm doing. At first, I thought let's add some more shadow to make it look 3D, okay? And then I thought let's add more white because there's a lot of white in the wing, okay? And then everything just went wrong. On the video, things may seem like it's over really quick, but in the real time, I think I was struggling for like 3 hours at least. And at that point, I decided to turn the camera off and try to figuring something out. So I think I came up with a solution. That is a grid pattern over here. Even though it looks really messy and kinda bad, but I did a small part over here, like finish it, and I think it's gonna work. For anybody who thinks that this pattern look kind of familiar, no it's not. You totally haven't seen it before, like in the beginning of the video or anything like that. Anyway, let me explain further in detail about what I did. So, I came up with the grid pattern following the black piece on the Joe Falcon wing, and then use some dark paint to mark where those bits are, filling in the white and cleaning up some of the darker bits, and that's basically it. Finally, it's time to paint the crown. For the design, I use some of the Joe Falcon feather and plus a flower called Pada in Vietnamese. I don't really know what it's called in English. I think I will put the name on the screen. To be honest, I don't really remember the reason why I chose this flower, but the yellow on the flower that looks really nice with her face design in the end. For the metal part of her crown, I use washi tape to block out like a round line and then filling it in. With some highlight on her nose as a final touch, she was done. That has been a very long journey, and before we end the video, I just want to say that seeing the full painting in front of me like this is quite rewarding, even though she definitely not perfect, but I'm still proud that I finished the project I have started a long time ago. With this, Thank you so much for watching until the end. Hope you have a lovely day ahead of you, and bye bye.